Pitch Perfect 2 hit the big screens this weekend, and you know how much we loved the original Pitch Perfect. On the phone right now is the music director and vocal producer for both of those movies. The Boston Globe says he's a one-man a cappella revolution, and NPR says he made a cappella cool again. I know that because I signed him to his first record deal. Deke, what's up?
Howard, how you doing? So good to hear your voice after all these years. And you are 100% correct. You are the first person in the music industry to have identified myself and the House Jacks and said, these guys, we need to make records.
And look at a cappella now.
I know, it's crazy. And when I graduated college and told people this is what I want to do with my life, they basically either said nothing or kind of snickered, like laughed at me, and then said stuff behind my back that I never heard. But I could tell. In fact, my high school choral director told people that me trying to make a career out of a cappella is like me trying to make a career out of tiddlywinks. That's how ridiculous it was back then. It was nothing. There were maybe 4, maybe 5 professional groups. There were some Ivy League colleges singing college a cappella. It wasn't happening in high school. It was nothing. It wasn't cool. It wasn't current. It wasn't a big deal. And now it's everywhere.
You know, Deke, I think you and me were just ahead of our time.
Way ahead of our time. But that's what it takes. And I got to say, Howard, the other group that you signed to Tommy Boy, Brothers from Another Mother, the BFM, those guys were great, and they were like heavy metal, like hard rock mixed with rap. They were basically Linkin Park. You were ahead of the game on that thing too. I mean, you really had ears that were ahead of your time. And someone's got to write a book about that.
How nice of you to sing my praises. You know, in the intro, I forgot to mention, you are also the producer of the very successful TV series, The Sing-Off.
That's right. That's right. Every single one of the 5 seasons here in the U.S., plus I helped make the show in Holland and in China. And just a few days ago, I flew back from South Africa, where we're doing Sing-Off South Africa, which is off the hook. It's amazing. The talent down there is unbelievable.
Well, you are certainly keeping busy, my friend. All right, we got to talk about Pitch Perfect 2. It hits the big screens this weekend, and something I've always wondered with both the original and the new one is how you guys decide what songs are going to make it into the scenes.
Well, from the very early moments where I sit around a table with Elizabeth Banks and her husband Max and a couple other people, Ed Boyer, who works with me as co-vocal producer, and we sit there and we go through the entire script. Kate Cannon's written all these great scenes and moments in there, and we talk about it. What would be fun here? What would be funny here? What would be a cool song that would make this moment work? That would fit the character, fit the story. And then we have to weave all of those different songs together, make sure that we've got some oldies, we've got some really current music, we've got pop, we've got rock, we've got hip-hop. Once the songs are chosen, then they got to go get cleared and make sure that we get the rights to them, and some don't get the rights, so then we have to go back to the drawing board and pick more songs. Once we get the okay on songs, then we demo recording. So myself and there's a team of other arrangers will arrange these songs, we'll record our voices and other people's voices to make sure to create a sonic picture that then can be played for the different producers and the director. Like, how do you like the way this sounds? Is this going to work in the scene? Once we get the thumbs up on those, then the real fun begins, because I sit in a room with all of the actors and actresses, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes within their groups, the Bellas and the Troublemakers and the new movie Dot Sound Machine, and teach them their parts. Plunk it out on the keyboard, and we also create learning recordings for them to learn their part by ear. And they all have to sing their part for me by memory perfectly before I allow them to move on to the next stage, which is to record all of their parts. We have built a recording studio in the production offices in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Joseph McGee and Kate Clark are like the 2 amazing hands-on-the-board tech wizards who work with us there. And we record every single note for the movie right there in the studio. And the thing people probably wonder is, do these singers lip-sync? Like, are they really singing live? And the fact of the matter is, they have to lip-sync because you can't control the sound when you're on set, windy stage, all that kind of stuff. So we coach them behind the microphone to sing their hearts out and put tons of energy into it, and then they have to lip sync to their own voices when it comes time to actually film. And that's the way movies have been made since Singing in the Rain way back in the day. You always record in the studio, and then you go and you actually film yourself. lip syncing, or I make them actually sing along to it so it looks really realistic. And that's the overarching process. It's 3 months. We start out with that first month we call acapella boot camp, and then once we get into filming things, it's just a mile a minute.
All right, so that's the whole 3-month process. But let's focus now on that first month, what you call your acapella boot camp. Tell me what goes on there and the whole purpose behind it.
At the boot camp, that happens for the first month of the 3 months. So we'll get everybody together, spend about 4 weeks in intensive music and choreography rehearsals. The music starts first, and once the music starts getting drilled down, then we start putting them on their feet. And AJ, the choreographer, choreographs for Usher, and his assistant Binky, like a really fantastic team, works with the singers to create all kinds of cool movement. There's this great body percussion stuff going on in the second movie that people will see. Really fun and exhausting for all of the singers. Plus, they get pulled out and they get sent into wardrobe, and they do headshots and promotion stuff, and there are line readings and meetings with Elizabeth Banks about their characters arc, and all of this kind of stuff is all happening during that first month. Because by the time they start going to set, we can occasionally grab a singer or two and do a little recording for them, but they're usually just dawn to dusk, or when it's a night shoot, dusk till dawn, taping, and just collapse at the end of the day.
They make it look like professional ice skaters. You know how when you watch like ice skaters competing in the Olympics, and they just make it look so easy. I think most people go to the movie, they watch it, and they think, oh, it was a 2-minute song. It took 2 minutes to shoot the scene and, sing the song. But so much work goes into it, even before the very first time the director yells action.
Oh, no, the thing is, every singer, every actor and actress in the movie, they're singing as well, and they're singing their hearts out. And they're also doing their own dancing, too. The thing with acapella, this stretches back to the sing-off. The thing with acapella is everything that's happening on stage is only coming from the people themselves. And that's why I call the sing-off the hardest reality show on television, because there's no professional band playing behind a single lead singer, and the band is unbelievably awesome, and they're never going to get off, and there's no stress for them. It's all coming from the people themselves, and we make sure that the movie has a real veracity to it. There's a truthfulness in the same way that a college a cappella group will be up there doing everything themselves. We make sure our actors and actresses are up there doing it all themselves as well.
Now, here's what I think would be the hard part for you. When we first were introduced to the Bellas, they were freshmen in college. Now, here they are seniors, so they've been competing, theoretically, for 3 additional years since we last saw them, which means they should have perfected their vocals and their performances. They should be even better, which puts the pressure on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So the fun thing about the first movie is they start out as total newbies, which frankly, when they showed up on set, they were, which made me crazy. I had a month to turn 10 actresses, only one of whom had sung any a cappella, into the best college a cappella group in the country. So I lost a lot of sleep during that first couple of weeks. But the thing is, people ask, like, oh, so the second movie must have been a lot easier because everybody's already done it before and they know the deal. I was like, no. Basically, we had to start them not only where they ended the last movie, where everything is all these like complex mashups and multi-layered and strange vocal techniques and really pushing the boundaries of what's going on in a cappella. Take that 3 years later, and that's where we pick up with this movie. And it was like we hit the ground running. So, I think the actresses in the first day, their eyes got wide when they saw the arrangements on sheet music, because there was very little white space on the paper. There were so many swoops and slants and musical notes and staccatos and glissandos, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but in a really good way, because in the end result, you see this performance and you believe it. Like, these women are on the top of their game.
Okay, so I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to put you on the spot now. From working with these actors and getting ready for Pitch Perfect 2, who, in your mind, had the best voice and was the easiest to work with?
Oh, wow. Well, that's hard to say, because you're talking about different people with different skills, right? And if music's communication, different people are communicating things differently. For example, if you've got people who've been on Broadway, you're looking at Anna Kendrick, you're looking at Ben Platt, you're looking at Skylar Astin. These people are seasoned live performers. They know what it's like to do a musical on Broadway, 8 shows a week, always on their game. So you're talking about consummate professional lead singers there. Fantastic, no questions. But then when you take somebody like Rebel Wilson, she's throws herself into her performances, and she's very smart about the way in which she's funny. Like, it may seem like, oh, she's just wanton, reckless abandonment, but that's honestly a lot like Robin Williams' stage persona. He would write jokes and test them out and try things, and then when he'd go on Letterman or Johnny Carson or whatever, he just seemed like he was riffing off the top of his head, but it was all planned. It was all very clever and thoughtful. Rebel's the same way, and her character as Fat Amy is a combination of her own personality and a lot of hard work and thought behind the scenes. So she's a great singer in a completely different way. And the great thing is with all of these different Bellas, their own personalities come out. Like Alexis will step forward with that like sexy moment, and she's just thrown herself into her character. And Haname, who she's always kind of quiet with her parts. When she gets her behind the microphone, she's embodying and embracing that character as well. So, it's a 10-way tie. They're all awesome. I love them.
Well, you just handled the response to that question very well. Okay, we all want to know, Rebel Wilson on set, quiet or crazy?
It's a combination. She's a funny person, but she's actually a little quieter and more soft-spoken. Again, like Robin Williams. There was one time when he lived here in San Francisco with me, and a kid bumped into my leg several years ago getting ice cream. A man turned to me and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir." Kind of, hunched over, like very quietly spoken. And I turned and I was like, "Oh, wait, that's Robin Williams. What? Why? You'd expect him to be like the genie out of the bottle, but the fact of the matter is, that's a persona, that's a character, that's an energy." And Rebel was definitely funny sometimes behind the scenes, but nobody's on all the time. And it was great to actually just connect with her as an individual and work with her on her craft, on her acting, on her music. So, for example, the first time, whenever she was in the studio, I'd always be there working with her, and she would get behind the microphone and I'd say, "Oh, okay, Rebel, one time as it's written, please, let's just get it the way it's written once so we have it." So she'd sing all her parts and everything, and then once we nailed that, I said, "All right, go nuts." And then by the time we're done, we're both laughing like our mouths hurt from laughing so hard, because she'd try loud, and she'd try ugly, and she'd try crazy. And it's through that experimentation that you find these great moments, and then you go back and edit it together so that the overall arc works really well. The great thing is there's a scene in the movie, I don't want to give too much of it away, but she gets her own kind of love story arc in this movie. And people, when they see the movie, will know what I'm talking about. When she's standing in a boat singing, that was particularly fun to record because it's just it entirely rests on her personality and character. And she just, the whole moment on screen, just having seen the premiere, is pure joy.
All right, let's talk about Anna now. On screen and off and on talk shows, and I've never had the pleasure of actually interviewing her yet. She comes off so sweet and innocent and wonderful. I'm wondering, on set, is she really a queen bee?
No, she's not a diva. But she's very intelligent, and she doesn't suffer fools lightly. So you gotta, when you're working with Anna, you gotta be on your game, which I make sure every time I'm right there with her. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's lined up in advance. I don't know if you want to bleep this for your radio show, but it was funny. She showed up a couple weeks late to Acapella Boot Camp because she was still making Into the Woods. There was no way to get out of the whole thing. And, of course, there was a lot of concern, like, is she going to be able to have all of her music right, et cetera, et cetera. And she just, walked up to me on set, gave me a big hug, showed me the sheet music, and she was like, "Deke, what the hell is this?" And I said, "I know it's really hard this time." And she just looked at me and she went, "Fuck you." And that's how it started. Because her music, everything she had to do was higher and lower and faster and harder and crazier. But the fact of the matter is she rolled in, and within 1 hour of working with her one-on-one, she sang all of her parts for me that we had worked on up to that point perfectly. So she's a consummate professional and brings her A game to everything she does, which is an absolute pleasure to work with. I was going to ask you what's your funniest pitch perfect work story, but I don't know, that one with Anna, that's pretty good right there. That was just day one with her. Oh my God, there's so much ends up happening there on set that's fun and funny. The nature of making the show is a lot like being in a crazy sorority with these 10 actresses. Now, none of them are exactly their character, but also none of them are all that distant. There's a measure of typecasting that goes into creating a Bad News Bears kind of team like that, right? Anna Kendrick, she can't be act and play snarky and intelligent if she's not somewhat snarky and intelligent. I'd say the one person who was furthest away from her character in kind of a clear sense is Anna Camp, who has a nice cameo in this movie as well. She's graduated, but the whole Aubrey character where she's just barking orders and she's like all about by the book and everything, she's actually just a really sweet, warm person. So I'd say she's the one who has the character that's furthest away from her own core. But you hang out with these women and they're all like different stories back and forth and you're laughing all the time. It was hard at times to get anything done.
Deke, what would you say was the most challenging thing for your role in the movie?
Well, the most challenging thing, hands down, was Pitch Perfect 1, trying to create an ensemble out of these women. The fact of the matter is the Troublemakers, the college a cappella group, had a couple Broadway stars singing leads up front, and most of the rest of the group had been backfilled with singers from college a cappella groups in the area. So give me college a cappella guys, I'll coach the crap out of them. They will sound awesome. You know, give me a week. We'll be great. So early on, the Troublemakers were fantastic. And every Friday, we would do a meet and greet where they'd show off all their singing and all their dancing up to that point. And the Troublemakers came in and they crushed it. Whereas the Bellas, 9 to 10 of them had never sung a cappella before. And for people who are listening and don't really understand it, those arrangements are 10-part arrangements. Every person is singing their own complex part all the way through. And unlike going up and singing karaoke, if you're not singing lead, you're singing some kind of background part. Even just the breath support alone takes time to get up to speed. So needless to say, those first couple show and dances we did on Friday afternoons, the Bellas were a hot mess. And I was really worried through most of Acapella Boot Camp, like, how the hell are these women going to win the movie? Like, the movie falls apart if the Troublemakers win. There's no movie, right? But they were not winning the Fridays. The Fridays were being won by the guys handily. But, you know, it was just like everybody dig down deep and pull together, and by the end, they crossed the finish line just in time. And it was funny because the other expectations for them at the end, that Anna Kendrick's mashups be brilliant, that last arrangement, I must have done 15 versions of it. Every time I bring the arrangement to Jason Moore, who's the director, he'd say, no, I want more. I want more key changes, more things mashed up in there. I was like, more? So I felt like after a few times going back to him, he's like the mad scientist. He was like, more! I want more! And I was like, finally by the end, I was like crossing the line beyond what I thought was reasonable, musical, or even tasteful. And finally for that last one, he was like, all right, dial it back a bit. That's a little too much. And then that's what we ended up with in the movie, where the entire thing just goes and shifts and pops and blends, and other songs are laid on top of everything, and it's absolutely bananas, which, of course, changing it also. And then the ladies are like, wait, you're changing the arrangement again on us, and the choreo has to change again? But the way to make them beat the Troublemakers was to give them increasingly difficult things to do. It was like an Olympic trial, and they had to do a quadruple backflip jump with a triple Lindy, et cetera, et cetera. But they landed on their feet. So
I'm curious, how did you even first become involved with this whole Pitch Perfect franchise? How did they find you?
Well, the fact of the matter is that there's a book called Pitch Perfect that talks about the college a cappella world. It follows 3 different college a cappella groups, and one of them is the Tusk Beelzebubs, which is the group that I was in, and the group from which I graduated and started the House Jacks. And there's even a chapter in the book on me, and it calls me in the book. The first line is Father of Contemporary a cappella, and in there it talks about how I started the ICCAs. Back then they were the NCCAs. The championship that's in the movie Pitch Perfect is a real championship that I co-founded shortly after graduating college, as well as the Contemporary a cappella Society of America and festivals, and publishing companies, and all this kind of stuff. Like I built, in a lot of ways, the grassroots in my life work to spread harmony through harmony started with the college a cappella world, because that was the biggest piece of the a cappella world at that time. And so when I heard that the book had been optioned into becoming a movie, I thought, well, that's never going to get made. Everything gets optioned. That doesn't matter. And then like 2 years later, I get a phone call from Elizabeth Banks, like, hey, do you want to come work on this movie? We haven't really done anything yet or hired anybody, but we've got a script, and it's time to start thinking about the creative. And I said, yeah, of course I would love to. But the funny thing was back then, I mean, it's a tiny little movie label. Gold Circles had one big hit with My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and the rest of their movies are small. You can go on IMDb and see them, like Blood Creek and stuff. They like horror movies, and I thought, like, I'm sure, like, we're going direct to DVD with this thing. So the whole time we're making this movie, I was like, gee, I hope anybody sees it. And the level of success, beyond anybody's wildest dreams. I mean, it's iconic. It launched a song from 1937, an unheard of kind of folky song, with one woman sitting on a stage flipping a cup over. That goes full platinum. I mean, you couldn't have scripted if it was a book you were reading and you told the tale of what's happening. People would say, like, that's just kind of nonsensical. That would never happen. So it's with great joy and excitement that we all got together to make Pitch Perfect 2, and I just flew back from the premiere, and there were over 2,000 people there, and it's just like giant marquee, like, there are all these cameos in the second movie. Like, it's just huge beyond all expectations. So, wow.
You know, it's like the little engine that could. You know, I mean, I don't think anyone really expected that much from it when the first one came out. And to think, you know, that this movie about the a cappella life and the a cappella world, you know, that it just took off. It's, you know, one of those things that you can't even plan on. You know, it's like catching lightning in a bottle.
Well, the thing that was funny was the movie came out in 2012. Pitch Perfect was the best-selling soundtrack of 2013. Like, that was the slow burn. We were bigger than Les Mis, all these other musicals and movies and whatnot. And at the time, we were the most downloaded movie soundtrack in history. Obviously, we've been since lapped by Frozen, which, I mean, the Behemoth, Kids, etc. But to have both of those be guideposts, like successes, no one would have expected that. And in fact, I mind-blowing. I was talking to a couple of people who made that amazing musical, the 80s hair band music. What was that? With Tom Cruise?
Yeah, Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages, right. Okay, so I was talking to a couple of people who worked on Rock of Ages, and the musical was enormous, and it was like a marquee cast, finished to end, and they had all the resources they wanted, anything they wanted. Tom Cruise, like, the whole thing was set up for amazing success. They were so proud when they were done making that, and they were sure it was going to be a huge hit, and it fizzled. And they were all like, I can't believe, like, why didn't this get bigger? And meanwhile, our little engine that could becomes the biggest soundtrack. So they were like, my hat's off to you, dude. Like, I don't know how you guys did it. But the thing that I always said, and Howard, we had this discussion 20 years ago, a cappella is something that people love. They just don't know where it is and how to get it. Anytime you're at a festival, a cappella groups start singing, draws a huge crowd. Birthday party, people in the corner, farmer's market, doesn't matter where you are. When you have people singing and nothing else going on, there's just something really powerful and electric about it. And people are seeing it now with the unbelievable success of Pentatonics and String of Chasers out there, Home Free. All these groups are finally launching up into the charts. And I always knew that a cappella would blow up if we just found the right way to get it in front of people. And Pitch Perfect turned out to be one of the major vehicles.
Well, you know, it has always resonated with people, whether they're aware of it consciously or subconsciously or not. You know, like, even in, you know, the craziness of New York City, you know, or LA, you know, when I'm just walking in the streets, or, you know, I'm down under the subway and there's an a cappella group or a doo-wop group, you know, just kind of hanging out, and in the middle of all this noise pollution and craziness and all this stimuli going to the brain, you know, you'll hear a 3 or 4 or 5 part harmony coming from somewhere on a street corner, and you just turn and look. You're drawn into it.
That's right. And in fact, the thing is, you know, people tend to be pretty short-sighted nowadays looking back at the broad arcs of history. But the fact of the matter is, a cappella is the oldest music, and there have been enormous groundswells where a cappella has been influential in popular music. If you go back 100 years ago, barbershop music, that was people singing current music with just their voices getting together. And a barbershop was like an enormous part of the music industry 100 years ago. 50 years ago, guys singing on the street lamp, looking for an echo, doo-wop. Most of those huge doo-wop songs that people know now were created a cappella. Singing groups would get together, they'd jam, they'd write a song, they'd come up with something. A producer would take them in the studio and add instruments. And this is another place where I need to give you kudos, Howard, because the entire time we were with you on Tommy Boy Records, never once did you say, these guys need to add instruments. You always believed in the core purity of an a cappella sound. And although we were a little ahead of our time back in those days, you understood what it could be and what it now is. So, again, ahead of your time, hats off to you.
Oh, thank you, Deke. That's nice of you to say. Well, I was always, it's not just about the a cappella and the vocals. It's all the vocal percussion and everything that I loved as well.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being in A&R meetings, standing up on the table and pounding on my chest and saying, no, people, we're not going to add instruments. They're an a cappella group, for goodness sakes.
That's the whole point. Yeah. That's exactly right. And there's something really powerful about it. And I think people get it now. And so now a cappella is bigger than ever and still growing. I mean, the Pitch Perfect 2 is going to open this Friday. It's going to be huge. There's just no question.
Oh, man, absolutely, man. The buzz on it is unbelievable. All right, Deke, hey, let's let our listeners know where they can find out more about you and what you're up to.
Well, it's DekeSharon.com, and on there I'm going to start posting stuff about a new television show that I'm going to be on Lifetime, which is very exciting. I'll be on camera for the first time instead of behind the camera. That's going to be coming up very soon. It'll start airing on Lifetime in August, I believe. And then I've got a new national touring show called Vocalosity. It's going to be hitting theaters starting in January.
Deke, we're looking forward to all of that. It has been so good to catch up with you, man. Continued success. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
It has been an absolute pleasure catching up with you, Howard. It has been far too long, and let us hope our paths cross many more times, much more soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Take care.
You just got mixed, shaken, and stirred by HK.